I never planned to hear my son destroy me with one sentence. I only wanted to surprise him at work and bring him a warm lunch. I walked through the glass doors with a quiet smile. Then I heard his voice. "Are you sure that old woman will not notice? My mother is stupid." The words sliced through me before I even saw his face. The words hit so hard my vision blurred for a second. I had stood through audits, funerals, and layoffs. Nothing had ever made my knees soften like that sentence. My hand went straight to my wedding ring. The gold band felt warm, almost alive. It was the last thing my husband placed on my finger before he died 7 years ago. I twisted it slowly to steady my breath. My throat burned, but my eyes stayed dry. I pressed my lips together until they hurt and lifted my chin so the marble floor would not see me bend. A young receptionist looked at me with a stiff smile. She glanced at my thrift coat and my canvas bag. Then she leaned forward with a rehearsed tone. "This floor is for premium clients only. We do not allow family members to wait here. My son is very busy." Her voice carried the softness people use when they do not respect you. I kept my posture straight. Years of auditing trained me to notice tones, numbers, meanings, and shadows. This was a shadow. Something was wrong. My name is Ulma Rivers. I am 62 years old. I spent 3 decades as an internal audit director for a national logistics firm. I raised one son with the man I loved. I retired early to find peace. I thought I knew my child. I believed loyalty was something we built with time and patience. Life was ready to test that belief in the cruelest way. The receptionist tapped her nails against the desk. She nodded toward the guest elevators. "Please wait outside if you do not have an appointment. We need to maintain a professional image." Professional image. I almost laughed. I once managed billion-dollar audits without losing my patience. Yet here I was, treated like a stranger with dirt on her shoes. My heart raced with an old instinct. The instinct that once warned me when ledgers were manipulated, when signatures looked too perfect, when a young accountant relied on charm instead of truth. This same instinct whispered now. Something deeper was happening behind that office door. I stepped closer, pretending to look at framed awards. Voices leaked through the narrow crack near the frosted glass. Maribel, my daughter-in-law, spoke first. "Are you sure she will not see it? She is older and slow." Then Adrian answered. The boy I once rocked to sleep. The boy who cried when bees stung his legs. The boy who promised to take care of me when I got old. He said the sentence in a low, annoyed whisper. "My mother is stupid. She will never catch on." My hand froze on my ring. The hallway suddenly felt colder. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like warning sirens. For a second, I felt weakness in my knees, the kind that comes with betrayal. But I did not break. Mothers rarely break in public. We learn to swallow storms until we reach a safer room. I took one step back, then another. Each step felt like walking away from a life I thought I understood. Something hard and focused settled inside me. A quiet strength I had not used since my strongest audits. They thought I would never notice. They thought I was harmless. They forgot who raised them. The receptionist called after me. "Mom, do you still need assistance?" I smiled politely. "No, dear. I know exactly where I need to be." I pushed open the lobby doors and stepped into the chilly afternoon air. I let the wind clear my thoughts. Cars passed. People talked into phones. Life continued with no idea that a mother had just heard her own child betray her. I walked toward my car with a steady stride. I felt the weight of my ring, the weight of memory, and the weight of truth. I buckled my seatbelt and sat still for a moment. My breath fogged the windshield in soft waves. For a fleeting second, I saw my husband's reflection beside mine. He looked calm. He always looked calm when he had a plan. I whispered to the empty seat, "I will handle this, I promise you." Comedy slipped in at the worst time. My old car refused to start on the first try. It sputtered like a stubborn mule. I slapped the steering wheel with the flat of my hand. "Not today, darling. We have a betrayal to investigate." The engine finally roared to life. I did not drive home. I did not think of calming down. I drove straight to Oak Ridge Street, straight to a brick building with a brass plate. The plate read, Bhatia and Associates, White-Collar Defense and Financial Crimes. Karen Bhatia had been my friend since college. She built a reputation for tearing apart corrupted systems with elegant precision. She once joked that if anyone tried to frame me, she would bite them before suing them. When I walked into her office, she took one look at my face and stood. Ulma, what happened? You look like someone rewrote your life without asking. I sat down slowly. I kept my coat on. I kept my ring on. I kept my dignity tight around my chest like armor. Then I spoke. Karen, I need your help. My son said I am stupid, and he said it while hiding something behind a locked door. She leaned forward, her eyes sharpened. Tell me everything. I took a breath, a long, steady breath that tasted like truth and grief mixed together. Then I began to speak. My voice did not shake. My heart did. If you are still listening to my story, stay with me. Follow where this truth leads. Share it if it speaks to your own scars. I promise you one thing. Justice has a way of finding its path back home. Karen set the folder on her desk and studied me with a long, steady look. It was the look of a lawyer who had destroyed corrupt executives for decades, but also the look of a friend who had known me for 30 years. She folded her arms and exhaled. Ulma, I believe you. But I need more than a feeling. You must describe Adrian's voice, the tone, the shift. I understood why. In financial crime, I heard something was never enough. I closed my eyes. The memory returned like a hallway light turning on. Adrian's voice as a child always trembled a little. He was terrified of the dark. Every night I had to keep the hallway light on for him. When he was 6, a flickering bulb sent him running into my arms with shaking hands. Mama the dark knows me. I held him tight. No, sweetheart. The dark is just a place without light. It cannot hurt you. Yet now that same voice, once fragile and scared, had become a blade. Sharp, cold, dismissive. I opened my eyes. He spoke softly but firmly, not scared, not hesitant. He sounded like a man hiding something, and he believed I was not smart enough to notice. Karen wrote several notes. Then she looked up again. Important. A change in tone always means something. People act confident when they believe they are protected by money power or someone watching their back. I nodded. My stomach tightened the way it used to when a balance sheet hid one wrong number. Every old instinct lined up in my chest and pointed in the same direction. Your instincts kept you alive for 3 decades in auditing. Never underestimate that. Karen stood and opened her laptop. The screen reflected her face like a cold mirror. I placed my old phone beside it. The cracked case looked ancient under the bright office lights. Karen stared at it. Ulma, what is this? A fossil. I let out the first real laugh of the day. It still works. I am used to it. No, you are not used to it. You are avoiding change. I am buying you a new phone. If we are investigating financial crime, that thing is a security risk. I laughed a little more. The sound eased the pressure in my chest. But after 5 seconds, Karen shifted back into her sharp legal posture. Now listen. I will run some public data checks, corporate registrations, tax identifiers, and partner lists. These files are open to everyone, but most people do not know how to read them. I stayed quiet. My heartbeat slowed as she typed, clicking, scrolling, pausing, scrolling again. The room grew colder when her expression changed. It was small, but I knew that look. Karen had just seen something dangerous. Ulma. Her voice dropped. I do not want to alarm you, but the preliminary data shows a smell. A real one. My hand found my wedding ring. What kind of smell? Money laundering. Not small, structured, organized. I found a name connected indirectly to the company. Vincent Levant. I had never heard the name. Who is he? Karen turned the laptop toward me. A picture appeared. A man carved from stone. expressionless, eyes dark and unreadable. Vincent is a ghost in the shadow markets. No convictions, no close calls, no one wants to touch him. His companies were flagged for laundering in 3 states. My pulse tightened. Adrian cannot be mixed up with someone like that. Karen did not argue. She simply showed me the data trail, and data never lied. The air grew heavy, the kind of heavy that warned you a storm was near. Karen took a slow breath. We must work fast and quiet. If Vincent or his circle sense an audit, they will act. I will bring in a forensic analyst, but before we go further, you must promise me something. What? No confronting Adrian. No questions, no hints. People involved in laundering panic easily. Panic leads to desperate acts. I nodded. I understand. Karen stepped away to make tea. Her hands were steady. She was holding her fear for my sake. While she poured, I stared at the image of Vincent. A chill ran down my spine. Not from fear, from recognition. A mother knows when her child is in trouble even before seeing the evidence. Karen set a cup beside me. Also, Ulma, listen carefully. If someone connected to laundering is involved, then someone will not want you digging. What do you mean? Before she answered, my phone vibrated. The cracked screen lit up. A text from an unknown number. 4 words. Stop digging right now. I placed the phone down slowly. Karen saw my face change and moved closer. What happened? I turned the screen toward her. In one swift motion, she locked her office door and pulled the blinds. She spoke in a low whisper. Ulma, this is serious. Someone noticed you. Someone is watching your movements. I pressed my thumb against my wedding ring, the same way I did when Adrian was small and scared of the dark. For the first time in years, I felt the dark reach toward me again. Not the dark Adrian feared as a child with closet doors and hallway shadows. This was an adult darkness, the kind that smiles while it takes things from you. But I did not step back. I will not stop. If I stop now, I lose my son forever. I lose the truth, and I lose myself. Karen exhaled. Then we do this smart, fast, quiet, and prepared for the worst. I nodded. My instincts are loud, and they say this is only the beginning. Karen decided we needed a second pair of eyes, someone who understood both the ethics and the shadows hidden inside corporate systems. She made one phone call. 10 minutes later, a man walked into her office carrying an old leather briefcase and a calm that did not waver. Ulma. This is Thomas Keller, Karen said. 35 years in financial forensics. Retired, but not really. Thomas shook my hand with a steady grip. You look like someone who has stared at too many numbers and trusted too many people. I nodded. That is close enough. He sat down and opened his briefcase. Inside were 2 laptops, a portable scanner, and a notebook filled with neat handwriting. Karen leaned back. Thomas is here because he understands what happens when a child you love breaks the law. He has lived it. Thomas closed the briefcase halfway and looked at me. His eyes were tired but kind. My son went to prison when he was 26, he said. Fraud. He thought he was smarter than everyone. I defended him until the evidence buried me. The guilt nearly ruined me. And the truth is simple. Parents do not see the red flags until the flags are on fire. I felt my chest tighten. I am sorry. No parent deserves that pain. He shrugged gently. Pain teaches, but pain also sharpens the instinct. That is why I am here. You are not the first parent blindsided by a child with too much access and too little conscience. His words hit a part of me I had tried to ignore since hearing Adrian's voice behind that office door, a part that whispered I had failed without even realizing it. Karen clapped once to shift the tone. All right, we have work. Time is not on our side. Thomas slid his laptop forward. Step 1. We run a shadow audit. Not the official kind, the real kind. The kind you and I used to do at 2 a.m. before a merger deadline. A small smile formed on my lips. Those audits gave me more gray hair than childbirth. Thomas chuckled. You still have better posture than half the analysts in this city. For a moment, the heaviness eased. Then the action began. Thomas connected to a secured network. Karen monitored the firewall. I typed in credentials I had not used since retirement. The screen flickered. The system greeted me by my old title, Senior Internal Auditor Level 4 Authority, a title I had earned with 30 years of early mornings, late nights, and endless accuracy. I exhaled and straightened my shoulders. Let us see what my son has been hiding. Thomas guided me. Open the contracts directory. Go to the subfolder labeled Archives, then Versions. The folder expanded. Dozens of files appeared, all with recent timestamps. Too recent. Karen leaned over my shoulder. Those dates should not be this close together. Someone has been modifying the files constantly. Thomas tapped the screen. Open one. Pick any. I clicked a contract labeled South Meridian Holdings. At first glance, it looked legitimate, but Thomas zoomed in on the signature. Do you see that? He asked. I squinted. It looks like my signature, but something is off. Thomas nodded. It is your signature, but it is not written. It is scanned. My stomach fell. How can you tell? Thomas enlarged the pixel grid. Signatures have minor pressure variations. The beginning is bold, the end thins. This one is identical on 3 different documents. That only happens when someone uploads a scan and pastes it over and over. Karen froze. That means they are preparing to make her the legal authorizer. If this explodes, the system will show Ulma approved every laundering contract. The words felt like a cold hand closing around my ribs. They want me to take the fall. Thomas placed a calm hand on my forearm. Yes, and they are almost finished setting the trap. A surge of heat rose behind my eyes. Not tears, anger. Sharp, controlled. Karen whispered. This is worse than we thought. It is not just negligence. This is intent. They are building a narrative where you look like the mastermind. Thomas scanned another folder. Look here. They kept the original clean contracts and replaced them with altered versions. That is classic laundering architecture, and someone inside knows exactly what they are doing. I rubbed my wedding ring. A movement that steadied me. A movement that reminded me of who I was before betrayal tried to define me. Thomas continued searching. Karen stared at access logs. Then Thomas froze. Ulma. Look at this. He highlighted a log entry. Access Override Keller Analysis Protocol. Timestamp from midnight. User A. Rivers. I shook my head. I was asleep at that time. Thomas answered softly. Someone used your account. That means they cloned your access credentials. Karen closed her laptop with a sharp sound. We need to stop for today. If they see us inside the system too long, they will get suspicious. We move again tomorrow. Thomas nodded. Ulma, you handled this better than most. Your instincts brought you here before the trap snapped shut. I forced a steady breath. Instincts are all I have left. Karen squeezed my shoulder. And they are serving you well. They both walked me to the elevator. Karen reminded me, no talking to Adrian, no changes in behavior. Let him think nothing is wrong, I promised. Even though every fiber of my heart wanted to ask him why he had done this. I drove home through streets that felt too quiet, the kind of quiet that warns you something has shifted. The porch light glowed, but the house felt different. As if the betrayal had seeped into the walls while I was gone. I hung my coat and walked to the living room. The old armchair sat where it had always been. My husband had repaired that chair with his own hands years ago. The cushion still dipped slightly on the left side, the exact shape of his weight. I lowered myself into it. The room grew still. I held my wedding ring between my fingers and whispered into the space where he once sat. If you were here, what would you tell me to do? Silence answered, but inside that silence, something else moved. Strength. Resolve. The quiet courage that grows only in people who have lived long enough to understand loss. I closed my eyes. I will not let them bury me. I will not let them rewrite who I am. The house stayed silent, but my conviction was no longer fragile. Tomorrow, the real war would begin. Adrian called the next afternoon with a cheerful tone that did not belong to him. "Mom, come to dinner tonight. Maribel wants to make things nicer between us." His voice was sugar on top of tension, a thin layer, a warning. I agreed, not because I believed him, but because I needed to see what he had become when money replaced conscience. I arrived at their townhouse at 7. Warm lights glowed through the windows, but the warmth ended there. Inside, the air felt staged, flowers arranged with military precision, plates set like a showroom, smells of garlic wine and something artificial underneath. Maribel greeted me with a smile too sharp for kindness. "Ulma, you made it. We wanted tonight to feel respectful." Her earrings sparkled. Her eyes did not. I removed my coat and touched my wedding ring. The gold band steadied my breath. I whispered inside my mind, "Stay calm. Watch everything." Dinner began with small talk about nothing. Weather, sales, vacations they had taken without me. Adrian laughed loudly at jokes that were not funny. His knee bounced under the table. He could not look me in the eye. Something was wrong. Not subtle. Not small. Something heavy sat under that table like a second guest. Halfway through the meal, Maribel cleared her throat. She placed a stack of papers beside my plate with careful ceremony. "Ulma," she said, "now that you are retired, it is best for everyone if you formalize your transition. This gives Adrian full authority to manage financial matters on your behalf." I stared at the papers. The title read, "Retirement Delegation and Full Proxy Authorization." My heart tightened. I twisted my wedding ring once, twice, 3 times. I looked at her calmly. I never asked for a proxy. Maribel smiled with a softness that cut deeper than anger. "Ulma, you are getting older. It is normal to let the next generation handle things. Old, weak, burden." The unspoken labels floated between us. Before I could answer, a new voice entered the room. Cold, measured, and dangerously confident. She should sign now. It is good to handle these matters before memory fades. The man stepped into view, tall, impeccably dressed, eyes like polished steel. I knew the face from Karen's laptop, Vincent Levant. My pulse slowed to a heavy rhythm, the kind that precedes a storm. Adrian stood a little straighter, too straight, as if Vincent's presence tightened invisible strings. "Mom," he said, "this is Mr. Levant. He helps me with company growth. He helps you. No, he owns you." Vincent extended his hand. I did not take it. His lips curved in a faint smirk. "Age brings wisdom, Mrs. Rivers, but it also brings limitations. It is best to simplify your obligations." I kept my voice steady. "My age has never limited my understanding." His smirk deepened. "Understanding is not the same as control." A chill moved across my spine, but I kept my posture firm. The room fell silent for a beat too long. Then Maribel laughed lightly, pretending the moment was harmless. "Ulma, we did not want to overwhelm you. We only need your signature. Everything else is handled." She tapped the pen against the paper, insistent, desperate. I studied Adrian's face. He avoided my eyes. Shame flickered, only for a second. Then greed buried it. I saw it clearly. Not manipulation alone, not pressure alone. My son wanted this. He wanted the money, the power, the shortcut Vincent offered. Whatever part of him had once feared the dark was now feeding it. I felt something inside me break again, not like the lobby moment, not sudden. This break was slow, inevitable, like a rope worn thin after years of trust. I lifted the papers with 2 fingers. Is this the part where I pretend I cannot read my own name? Adrian's jaw tightened. "Mom, do not make this complicated." "Complicated," I repeated softly, "like forging my signature on contracts." Maribel froze. The pen slipped from her fingers and tapped the table. A a small sound, sharp as a gunshot. Vincent's eyes narrowed. "Where did you get that idea?" "I used to audit companies larger than yours," I said. "I know what manipulated documents look like." A heavy stillness settled. Vincent leaned forward slightly. Only an inch, but enough to chill the space between us. "You should be careful with accusations. Careless words can create legal consequences." His tone was silk over stone, a warning, a threat, a promise. I twisted my ring again, the gold warmed under my touch. The memory of my husband's hand steadied my breath. "I am always careful," I said. But Adrian's voice cut through the moment with the sharpness of a breaking plate. "Mom, sign it. You owe us that. I have worked too hard to keep things running." There it was, the truth. Not buried, not hidden, spoken. He believed I owed him. He believed my life's work belonged to him. He believed his choices were justified because they benefited him. Vincent placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder, a light touch, but the message was clear. Control. "Let her think," Vincent murmured. "Age slows decisions. She will come around." That was the final insult. Age as weakness, age as burden, age as a door he believed was closing. I stood slowly, every muscle controlled, every breath deliberate. "No," I said. "I will take these papers home. I do not sign anything without reading it." Vincent's expression did not move, but his eyes sharpened, predatory, calculating. Adrian exhaled in frustration. "Mom, why are you being difficult?" I looked at him. Really looked, not at the face I raised, at the man he chose to become. Because I said gently, "I see you now." I picked up my coat. I walked to the door without rushing. I felt their eyes on my back, but I did not turn. Outside, the night air hit my face like cold truth. I tightened my coat and walked toward my car. For the first time since this nightmare began, I understood the magnitude of what I faced. My son was no longer standing in a shadow. He was building one, and the man beside him was teaching him how to use it. I unlocked my car and sat inside. My fingers found my wedding ring, warm, steady, faithful. I whispered to the empty seat, "If you were here, you would tell me to stand tall." The engine hummed. The streetlights glowed. The night felt wide and dangerous. But I had something they did not expect. A mother's instinct sharpened by betrayal, a lifetime of audits, and the quiet strength of a woman who had survived deeper wounds. I shifted into drive. The real battle had begun. I drove home in a silence that roared louder than any argument. Streetlights passed like slow flashes on a hospital monitor, one steady beat at a time. The papers sat on the passenger seat beside me, the so-called retirement proxy. They looked harmless like any stack of office documents. They were not harmless. They were a gun with my name engraved on the handle. I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine. For a long moment, I did not move. My hands rested on the steering wheel, my wedding ring pressed against the leather, warm metal against cool material, two different worlds, my past and my present. I finally stepped out and walked toward the front door. The porch light flickered once, then steadied. It felt like a warning and a blessing at the same time. Inside the house welcomed me with familiar smells, laundry soap, old wood, a hint of the cinnamon I used on weekends. I shut the door and locked it, not out of habit, out of instinct. The living room looked unchanged. The same couch, the same bookshelf, the same framed photo of Adrian at 8 missing his front teeth. My chest tightened. I could not sit yet. I needed to move. My feet carried me down the hallway almost without my permission, past the bathroom, past the linen closet, to a door I rarely opened anymore, Adrian's old room. I turned the knob and pushed it open. The scent of dust and something sweeter floated out. Teenage cologne in time. The posters were still on the walls. Basketball players frozen mid-jump, a band he used to love, a cartoon hero with a ridiculous cape. His bookshelf held cheap trophies from school, most improved student, best effort, participation award, awards for trying, not for winning. I used to be so proud of them. On the desk sat a small notebook with a cracked spine, his middle school journal. He had begged me never to read it. I never did. Tonight I walked over and rested my fingers on the cover. I did not open it. Even now, I would not break that old promise. Instead, I looked around the room and saw every version of my son layered over the walls. The boy with skinned knees, the teenager who stayed up late studying, the young man who told me he wanted to make me proud. My throat burned. My vision blurred. I gripped the edge of the desk. A single tear fell. Then another. Not dramatic, not wild, just heavy. I sank onto the edge of his old bed. The mattress gave under my weight with a familiar creak. That sound alone nearly broke me. The words rose in my mind before I could stop them. I had clapped for every small trophy on his shelf and smoothed over every bad grade. Somewhere between bedtime stories and job offers, I stopped noticing which way his compass pointed. The thought cut deeper than anything Vincent had said, deeper than the insult in the lobby, deeper than the proxy papers on my kitchen table. If I had seen earlier, if I had set harder limits, if I had refused small manipulations when he was young, would we be here now? I lifted my hands to my face and finally cried, not loud, not for long, but every tear felt like it had waited years to fall. When the wave passed, I wiped my cheeks with the back of my hand. My nose was stuffy. My eyes were raw. I let out a short, humorless laugh. If Adrian saw me now, he would say, I am being dramatic. The absurdity of that thought gave me a thin thread of comedy, a small reminder that I was still capable of smiling even with a cracked heart. I stood and left his room, closing the door gently. I was not mourning a dead child. I was mourning an illusion. In the hallway, my phone vibrated. A notification banner flashed across the screen. New secure document ready for review. Sender corporate system. My stomach clenched. It felt wrong. Too late at night for normal business. I walked to the kitchen table and laid out the proxy papers. Beside them, I opened my laptop and logged into the secure portal I still had access to. The system greeted me with bland courtesy. Welcome back, Ms. Rivers. A new document waited in the approvals queue. Large red font announced its importance. Contract proposal, Northline Global Logistics. Total value $2,000 USD. $2 million. My pulse quickened. I clicked the file. The contract looked polished. Clean formatting. Professional language. All the right phrases. But something felt off. Too many vague service descriptions. Performance optimization. Strategic integration. Operational alignment. It was the kind of language people used when they wanted to hide a dirty engine under a shiny hood. I scrolled to the bottom. There it was. Signature block. Prepared for Ulma Rivers Senior Advisor. A blinking cursor rested beside my name. The system had pre-filled the field signature on file. One click and it would attach my scanned signature to the document. One click and I would become the legal authorizer of a $2 million contract tied to shell companies. A light sweat formed on my palms. They were not waiting for my consent. They were assuming it. This was not future planning anymore. This was the trap closing. I pulled my hands back from the keyboard. It felt like stepping away from a cliff. My heart pounded in my ears. For a moment, the urge to scream rose inside me. Instead, I twisted my wedding ring, my anchor. My training as an auditor resurfaced in sharp focus. When in doubt, document. When threatened, preserve evidence. When framed, never touch what they want you to touch. I reached for my phone and snapped photos of the screen, the contract, the value, the signature block, the timestamp, everything. Then I pressed the power button and turned off the laptop without saving or clicking anything. In the quiet that followed, a thought landed with brutal clarity. If I did nothing, that contract would be signed using my stored signature anyway. If I tried to confront Adrian directly, he would hide it faster. Or worse, he would accelerate everything. I needed a witness. I needed help. And I already knew who to call. Karen's number sat at the top of my recent calls. I dialed. She answered on the second ring, voice low. "Please tell me this is not bad news." "It is worse," I said. "They just pushed a $2 million contract into my queue. My name is the signer." There was a pause. Then the sound of papers shifting on her end. "Do not click anything. Do not log back in. Can you send me photos?" "I already took them." "Good. Text them. Then unplug your router for now. If they have started using your credentials this aggressively, they may also be watching your activity." I let out a small, bitter laugh. First they call me stupid. Now they treat me like a threat. Karen's tone turned sharp. "Because you are a threat. You are the one person who can expose this from inside the family." I sent the photos. My hands shook, but the images were clear. While Karen reviewed them, I walked into the living room. The old armchair awaited. My husband's chair. I sank into it. The cushion dipped on the left side just as it used to when he sat there reading the paper. I closed my eyes and let the weight of the night settle. "If you were alive," I whispered, "you would tell me to stop blaming myself. You would say, our son made his choices." A tear slid down my cheek, not as heavy as before, more like a quiet acknowledgement. I had loved that boy with everything I had. I had given him education, opportunity, and trust. But love does not guarantee direction. It only gives a compass. He had chosen his path. Karen's message pinged on my phone. "We are out of time," she wrote. "Tomorrow we go to the authorities with what we have. Before that contract triggers." I stared at the screen. Two paths stretched before me. One where I stayed silent and hoped they spared me. Another where I spoke and accepted that my own son might go to prison. My heart split clean down the middle. But in that split, something else appeared. A line I could not cross without losing myself. I wiped my face and sat up straighter. My wedding ring caught the lamplight, a small circle of gold. I kissed it once softly. "I am sorry, Adrian," I whispered into the quiet room. "But I will not let you bury me. Not with stolen money. Not with forged signatures. Not with lies." Outside, a car drove by, tires whispering against the road. Inside, my decision hardened into stone. If they wanted to use my name to commit crimes, they were about to learn who that name truly belonged to. Thomas parked 2 blocks away from the building. His old sedan hummed like a tired dog trying its best to stay quiet. The night air carried a sharp chill that crept through my coat. "You ready?" he asked. His voice was steady. Mine was almost steady. I am as ready as a 62-year-old woman can be before committing corporate trespass. He snorted. "That is the spirit. Besides, we are not trespassing. We are conducting an emergency audit. That sounds like something a lawyer would say." "Good." Karen trained us well. We crossed the empty street with our heads down. The company building stood tall, wrapped in steel and glass. At night, it looked colder, like a machine without a pulse. Thomas swiped his access card. It beeped. The door unlocked with a soft click. "That card still works," I whispered. "Because no one ever remembers to revoke retiree badges," he said. "Corporate incompetence, our best friend." A small laugh escaped me. The first in hours. Inside the lobby, lights were dim. The silence felt heavy like a held breath. My heart beat fast, but not with fear alone, with purpose, with need. Thomas led me down a hallway toward the server wing. Each step echoed softly. I twisted my wedding ring to settle my nerves. "You are shaking," he said quietly. "Only on the outside. That is enough to get us both arrested." We reached a locked metal door. A red light blinked over the keypad. Thomas pulled out a folded piece of paper. "You wrote the code down," I hissed. "Is that safe?" "It is safe enough." I hid it in my sock drawer. "That is worse." He entered the 6-digit code. A green light flickered. The door opened. The server room greeted us with a rush of cold air. The loud hum of fans filled the space. It sounded like heavy breathing. Racks of servers glowed blue and white. It felt like standing inside a beating heart made of wires. Thomas pointed to a workstation. "You sit there. Plug in the flash unit. Do not touch anything else." I sat. My hands shook slightly. I gripped the edge of the desk until they calmed. The screen lit up. Employee Access Console. I typed with slow precision the same way I had typed during merger audits years ago. Thomas stood guard. Every few seconds he peeked through the glass window. I found the email archive folder, a restricted folder, a folder my son had full access to. I opened it. The first message froze my breath. From Adrian Rivers to Vincent Levant. Subject timeline for competency declaration. Once we submit the mental incompetence form, the state will freeze her authority. She will not fight it. She trusts me. My throat tightened. Thomas stepped beside me, his jaw clenched hard. "That is elder abuse," he said. "That is beyond criminal." I kept scrolling. Each message cut deeper. Her signature is uploaded to the system. She will not notice the changes. When the audit hits, she will look guilty. After the declaration, we claim control of her assets. My chest ached. My fingers trembled. I twisted my wedding ring again and again. The final email stopped my breath cold. From Vincent Levant. "To finalize this, we ensure she loses credibility. The old lady will not survive the audit. Old lady, disposable, an obstacle." My hands went numb. For a moment the room spun. I gripped the chair to stop myself from falling. Thomas whispered, "Ulma, you need to breathe, in and out." I nodded. I forced air into my lungs. I forced myself to look at the words again, not as a mother, as an auditor. "This is premeditated financial coercion," I said, "punishable by prison, at multiple levels." Thomas gave a grim nod. "That is why we get every file and leave before someone notices." He handed me a flash unit. "Copy everything. Start with emails." I inserted it. The screen showed transferring files, 40%, 60%, 80%. A sudden noise broke the rhythm. Footsteps, slow, heavy. Thomas froze. He mouthed one word, "Hide." I slid under the workstation and held my breath. The hum of the servers covered part of the sound, but not enough. The footsteps entered the room. Leather soles. Measured pace. A voice followed. "Vincent." "How did the system flag an unusual login?" he said. "Someone touched the archive." A second voice answered. "Adrian, my son." My blood turned to ice. "Maybe she is checking something," Adrian said. "She still has old access." "Then revoke it," Vincent replied. A pause. Keys clicked. He was at a workstation. Too close. Thomas stayed perfectly still behind a row of servers. He signaled me not to move. Vincent continued. "She is becoming a problem. Fear is not working. Pressure is not working. Next move is legal force." Adrian asked, "How fast?" "As fast as needed. The old lady will not survive the audit." There it was again. The sentence that stripped me of humanity. The sentence that broke something clean inside me. My breath hitched. Just once. A tiny, involuntary sound. Vincent stopped talking. Silence pressed against the room. Then his voice cut through the air. "Did you hear that?" My pulse hammered against my throat. One wrong move and he would find me. This man who saw me as an inconvenience to be removed. Thomas dropped a metal tool on the floor at the far end of the room. A loud clang echoed. "What was that?" Adrian asked. "Probably a loose rack," Vincent muttered. "Let us check the perimeter." Their footsteps moved toward the opposite side. Farther, farther. When the sound faded, Thomas appeared at my side. "We must go, right now." The transfer hit 100%. Complete. I pulled the flash unit free and stuffed it into my coat. Thomas guided me toward the exit. We moved fast but silent like two ghosts who knew fear was chasing them. As we reached the outer hallway, Vincent's voice echoed again. "Check every workstation tomorrow. Someone was in here." We slipped out through the stairwell door, down 2 flights, out the side exit. The cold night wrapped around us like a warning. Once we reached the car, my knees buckled for a second. Thomas steadied me. "You did well," he said. "No panic. No mistakes." "I heard my son," I whispered. He was ready to declare me incompetent. He was ready to erase me. Thomas nodded. He chose his side tonight. I gripped my wedding ring. It felt hot under my fingers, as if my husband were squeezing my hand through the metal. I looked at Thomas. "What do we do now?" "We take this to Karen first," he said. "Then we take it to the authorities. You are no longer just a target. You are the key witness." I exhaled slowly. The night wind carried the breath away. "I am stepping into the lion's den," I said. Thomas started the engine. His voice was calm and sure. "No, Ulma, you just walked out of it. Now we burn it down using truth." Karen paced across her office like a woman carrying thunder in her chest. Thomas and I sat side by side, both silent. The flash drive lay on her desk between us, small and dangerous. When Karen finally spoke, her voice cut through the air. "Ulma, this is federal-level crime. You must hand this to the authorities. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today." My heart gave a painful twist. "Karen, that evidence destroys my son. It saves you," she replied. "It stops Vincent, and it protects other victims." Thomas nodded. "She is right. This is not petty fraud. This is organized laundering tied to interstate activity. The feds will move fast." I twisted my wedding ring, pressing the gold into my skin. The weight of motherhood settled heavier than ever. "Being a mother does not stop when your child is wrong," I whispered. "It becomes something harder." Karen sat beside me. "Ulma, choosing justice is not a betrayal. It is refusing to be destroyed." I looked at the flash drive. It felt like staring at a loaded weapon, one aimed at my own child. My chest tightened. "I need time to think." Karen shook her head softly. "You have hours, maybe. Not days." The room blurred for a moment, not from fear, from heartbreak. Thomas handed me a glass of water. When my son went to prison, he said I nearly lost myself. But saving him from accountability would have broken him worse. His words landed deep, a mirror of my own fear. Karen added, "If you stay silent, they will use your name to ruin other families. You know the truth now, and truth demands action." I lowered my face into my hands. My breath shook. "I need to go home." Karen nodded. "Go, think, but stay safe. They will escalate when they realize the system was accessed." Thomas walked me to the door. "You are stronger than you think," he said. I wished I believed him. The sun had already set when I reached home. The house felt heavier than usual, quiet in a way that pressed on my ribs. I placed my bag on the table and walked down the hallway. My feet moved without thought. Toward the bedroom, toward the framed photograph on the dresser. My husband's face smiled back at me, calm, steady. The same expression he wore on our wedding day. I touched the frame with trembling fingers. "I cannot save our son by sacrificing myself," I whispered. "I know that, but my heart does not want to accept it." The room answered only with silence. I sat on the bed and folded my hands. The tears came fast, warm, heavy, unstoppable. I raised him. I taught him to be kind. I taught him to tell the truth. And now he plans to erase me for money. I shook my head slowly. He was the little boy who feared the dark. I turned on the hallway light every night so he could sleep. My voice cracked. Now he is the one creating the dark. I cried until my chest hurt, until my breath came in short, broken waves. Then I forced myself to stand. Mothers do not get to collapse. Not for long. I walked into the kitchen and made tea. My hands shook so badly I spilled half the sugar. I muttered, "Look at me." Fighting criminals with trembling fingers. A tiny thread of comedy softened the moment, just enough to breathe again. I sat at the table and laid out 3 things: the flash drive, the proxy papers, the photo of Adrian at 8. My husband's voice seemed to whisper inside my mind. Not words, a feeling. Stand up. Do not hide. Do not let love blind you again. I stared at Adrian's photo until my vision blurred again. "I love you," I whispered, "but I will not let you burn my life to warm your mistakes." The clock ticked past midnight, then 1, then 2. I did not sleep, not even for a second. The house was quiet, but my mind was a battlefield. Justice on one side, blood on the other. Every minute sharpened my decision. Every breath carried a little more resolve. By 4 in the morning, I knew what I had to do, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. I picked up the flash drive and slid it into my coat pocket. My fingers felt cold, but my spine felt straighter. I whispered to the empty kitchen, "I choose justice." The knock at my door came at 7:21, sharp, 2 short taps, professional. My stomach dropped. For a moment I feared Adrian, or Vincent, or both. I approached the door with slow steps. My pulse thundered. "Who is it?" I asked. A calm voice answered, "Federal Bureau of Investigation. We need to speak with Miss Rivers." I froze for 1 second, then opened the door. 2 agents stood outside, black coats, badges raised, serious eyes. The taller one spoke. "Ms. Rivers, we've been monitoring illicit activity tied to Meridian Logistics. We believe you possess information critical to our investigation." My breath caught. "You have been watching them?" "Yes," he said, "for months. We intercepted an attempted competency filing with your name. Our timeline accelerated." The shorter agent stepped forward. "We need you to come with us. You are the key witness. Your evidence confirms our internal suspicions. Key witness. Not old woman. Not obstacle. Not burden. A witness. A voice that mattered." For a moment, I did not speak. The morning light illuminated the hallway. Dust floated like tiny stars. Then I nodded. "I will help." The agent gave a small, respectful bow of his head. "Thank you, Ms. Rivers. We know this is not easy. It is brave." I took my coat from the hook. The flash drive weighed against the fabric like a stone of truth. Before stepping out, I touched my wedding ring. Warm, steady, faithful. I looked once more at the framed photo on the dresser. "I choose justice," I whispered again. "For myself, for others, even for him." Then I walked out the door, into the morning, into the next battle, into the truth. The agents drove in silence, their car cutting through the pale light of early morning. Dawn stretched across the sky like a soft bruise healing. I sat in the back seat, hands folded in my lap. My wedding ring pressed gently into my skin, a quiet reminder of who I was. "Miss Rivers," the taller agent said, "we will arrive in 10 minutes. His voice was calm, professional, measured. "What happens first?" I asked. "We serve the warrant, detain key suspects, secure digital evidence. Your company becomes a crime scene." My heart squeezed. It was not just a building to me. I had built it. I had sacrificed birthdays and holidays for it. "Will the employees be safe?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "They are victims of fraud, not targets. Our focus is Adrian Rivers and Vincent Levant." Hearing their names in that tone made everything feel final, like a sentence already written. We turned the last corner. The building came into view wrapped in glass that reflected the rising sun. The sky behind it glowed pink and gold, a beautiful backdrop for an ugly truth. Several unmarked cars waited near the entrance. Agents stepped out, adjusting jackets and bulletproof vests. The shorter agent turned to me. "You stay with me, ma'am. You are not under investigation. You are a cooperating witness. Cooperating witness. Not clueless old woman, not burden." The words settled inside me like a small light. They moved with quiet efficiency. No shouting, no chaos. 2 agents entered first to secure the lobby. Others took side entrances. Their movements were fast but controlled. From my place on the sidewalk, I could see the lobby doors swing open. The young receptionist, the same one who had once dismissed me, stepped back in shock. Her mouth opened in a small "oh." She looked from badge to badge, then toward the street. Her eyes landed on me. Recognition flickered, then disbelief, then something like shame. I stood straighter. The taller agent spoke into his radio. "Lobby secure. Warrant served. Proceed. Employees began to arrive for work. One by one, they froze on the sidewalk as they saw the scene. Badges, boxes, agents with laptops and evidence bags. Whispers rose in small waves. What is happening? Is this a raid? Did someone steal money? I heard my name in fragments. That is Ms. Rivers. I thought she retired. Why is she here with them? A young woman in a navy blazer, maybe 30, stepped closer to me. Her face held a mix of fear and respect. "Ms. Rivers," she said softly, "are we safe?" "Yes," I answered. "You are not the problem. You are the reason this is happening." Her eyes filled with tears. "I trusted this company because of you." I swallowed hard. This company can still be worthy of that trust, but first the infection must be removed. An agent signaled from the doorway. "Ma'am, please come inside. We need you to identify offices and server access." I walked through the same lobby where I had once been told I did not belong, where I had been treated as a nuisance. Now every step felt different, not because pride filled me, because truth stood beside me. The receptionist avoided my eyes at first, then she forced herself to meet them. "I am sorry, Ms. Rivers," she said. Her voice shook slightly. "I did not know who you really were." I gave a small, tired smile. "Now you do, and now we fix what must be fixed." Inside the elevator, an unexpected presence appeared. A young man, early 30s, dark hair, clear eyes. He wore an agent's badge and carried a tablet. "Special Agent Daniel Hart," he said. "White Collar Division. I will be your primary contact today." He pressed the button for the executive floor. "I read your audit work," he added. "You caught a pension fraud case 15 years ago. My aunt was one of the people you saved." I blinked. I did not know that. He smiled just a little. "Ma'am, you saved dozens of people's pensions back then. You are doing it again today. We owe you." The words hit a place inside me that had been empty for a long time. Respect. Gratitude. Not from family, from strangers whose lives I had touched without knowing. The elevator doors opened. The executive floor was already being secured. Agents stood outside office doors. Vincent's nameplate shone in cold metal. So did Adrian's. Agent Hart turned to me. "Where are the key servers and document archives?" I pointed. "Down that hallway. Behind the glass door. Access requires level 4 credentials." He nodded. "Good. The tech team is already there." He led me toward Adrian's office. The door was open. Inside, 2 agents searched drawers and photographed files. I stood at the threshold. The last time I had stood here, I had overheard my son calling me stupid. Now federal law surrounded his desk. "Ma'am," one agent asked, "is this his primary workstation?" "Yes." He tagged the monitor. "Seize this unit for forensic imaging." We moved to Vincent's office. It was as cold as his eyes. Minimalist furniture, expensive art, no warmth anywhere. Every inch screamed control. Back in the hallway, a sudden noise cut through the quiet. The elevator doors opened again. Adrian stepped out between 2 agents. His hands were cuffed in front of him. His hair was messy, his shirt untucked. He looked smaller. For a brief moment, our eyes met. Shock, panic, hurt. All flashed across his face. "Mom," he shouted. His voice cracked. "Mom, what is this? They said you started the laundering. They said you ran it first. Help me." The hallway fell silent. Every employee who had gathered near the glass walls turned toward us. Their boss in handcuffs, his mother standing with the federal agents. The pain in my chest was sharp, like a knife twisted slowly. He was still my son. He was also my betrayer. I stepped closer, but not too close. The agents did not move aside, but they did not stop me from speaking. "Adrian," I said quietly, "I did not start anything." His eyes filled with tears. "They told me you would take the blame if it went wrong. Vincent said your name was already on everything. Because you put it there, I answered." A murmur rippled through the watching employees. Adrian shook his head wildly. They said you knew. They said you did this for us, for retirement money, for security. My voice stayed calm, though my heart shook. I have lived my life by numbers and facts. I never needed dirty money to feel secure. I held his gaze. Did you forge my signature? He looked away. The silence answered for him. An agent guided him forward. Please, Adrian begged. Mom, help me. Say something. Save me. I swallowed hard. There was a temptation to reach out, to pull him away, to shield him. But saving him that way would mean killing myself. Killing every person whose pension hung in the balance. Killing every lesson I had ever taught. I cannot save you from the consequences of your own choices, I said. His shoulders collapsed. His voice dropped to a whisper. They said you would cover me. You always did. The words hurt because they were true. I had covered him for years, excused small lies, ignored small selfishness. This was the harvest. The agents led him away, past the employees, past the glass walls, toward a stairwell that now felt like a border between worlds. I stood where I was, my back straight, my wedding ring warm under my fingers. Agent Hart came to stand beside me. His tone was gentle. Ma'am, you did the hardest thing a parent can do. You chose justice over denial. I watched the stairwell door close behind my son. Tears burned at the edges of my eyes but did not fall. I hope one day he understands, I said. Not why I testified, why I should have drawn the line sooner. Employees began to return to their desks under the watch of agents. Whispers continued, but a different energy moved through the floor now. Not gossip, not scorn, something closer to respect. The young woman in the navy blazer passed by me again. Miss Rivers, she said softly, thank you. My parents' retirement fund is handled through our client pension plan. I heard the agents talking. They said your evidence may have saved it. I took a slow breath. Then the pain is not wasted. Outside, the sun rose higher. Light flooded through the windows, washing the hall in gold. The same building where I had been called useless now stood under a new light. Agent Hart turned to me. Ready for the next step, ma'am? I nodded. I am. Because at sunrise, my son was arrested, and a part of my heart broke again. But at that same sunrise, something else was born. A dignity no one could forge, a truth no one could launder, and a quiet justice that finally had my name on it. The visitation room was colder than I expected, not from the air, but from the silence. A silence that held every regret between a mother and her child. A guard guided me to a small booth with a glass divider. He spoke gently. Take your time, ma'am. Press the button when you are ready. I nodded. My wedding ring felt warm on my finger, a contrast to the metal chair beneath me. A door opened on the opposite side. Adrian walked in wearing a beige jumpsuit. His shoulders looked smaller. His face was pale. He carried the weight of consequences like a heavy coat. When he saw me, he hesitated. Then he sat down across from me. Glass between us, history between us, pain between us. He lifted the phone first. I lifted mine second. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he whispered, Mom. The word cracked, like something fractured inside him. I answered softly, Adrian. He looked at me with eyes swollen from sleepless nights. I do not know where to begin. Begin with the truth, I said. It is the only thing left that matters. He wiped his nose with the back of his hand, a gesture so familiar it struck something tender inside me. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. I thought I could control it. I thought Vincent respected me. Men like Vincent do not respect anyone, I replied, except power. Adrian swallowed hard. I know that now. Then he leaned forward. His voice dropped into something raw. Mom, when I was 12, I heard you talking to Dad. You said you were worried I would never be strong enough for the world. My breath caught. I never said that. You did, he insisted. You said I was sensitive. gentle, too easily hurt. I thought you saw me as weak. I stared at him through the glass. The memory surfaced, not sharp but hazy. A night when he had been bullied at school. A night when I cried after he fell asleep. Adrian, I said I was afraid the world would hurt you, not because you were weak, because you had a soft heart. His voice trembled. I wanted to prove you wrong. I wanted to show you I was not useless. I shook my head. You were never useless. You chose to believe that. His face crumpled. The words hit him deeper than any punishment the courts could give. He pressed his palm against the glass. I pressed mine against the other side. Our hands almost touched, divided by a barrier neither of us wanted. I messed up everything he whispered. I messed up my life. I messed up yours. I breathed slowly. I cannot fix your choices, but I can care about you while you face them. A tear slipped down his cheek. Do you hate me? I am hurt, I answered. Exhausted, disappointed, but hate has no place between a mother and her child. He lowered his head. I do not deserve that kindness. That was true. But kindness was not for him. It was for the part of me that still remembered his small hands holding mine. A guard stepped closer, giving us the subtle warning that time was passing. Adrian took a shaky breath. There is something else, he said. Something you do not know. My stomach tightened. What is it? Maribel is pregnant. My grip tightened on the phone. The room felt suddenly smaller. The air felt heavier. For how long, I asked. 3 months, he said. She found out before I was arrested. She has not told anyone. She is scared. I leaned back in my chair. The news shifted everything inside me. Not forgiveness, but a new layer of responsibility. A child, innocent, unborn, tied to a man who had thrown away his moral compass, tied to a woman who had helped him. Adrian continued, Please, do not punish the baby for what I did. My heart pulled in 2 directions, justice on one side, a new life on the other. He whispered, I know I ruined everything, but the baby did nothing. The irony hit me. My son, who tried to take everything from me, was now begging me to protect something of his. I closed my eyes for a moment. In that darkness, I saw 2 truths. First, I could not shield him from the law. Second, a child deserved better than the shadow Adrian had chosen. I opened my eyes again. Adrian, I said, I cannot undo what you have done, but I can choose how to move forward with compassion. He sobbed into his hand. The sound cracked through the glass like a fault line. Comedy, soft and small, snuck in at the edges when he muttered, I bet Dad would be yelling at me. I exhaled through my nose. He would yell first, then hug you so tight you could not breathe. That pulled a weak laugh out of him, the first in a long time. But he would still let you face the consequences, I added. Adrian nodded slowly. I know. The guard tapped his watch. Time's up, he said gently. Adrian's eyes widened with fear. I do not want this to be the last time I see you. It will not be, I promised, as long as you fight for the truth from here. He pressed his hand to the glass again. I mirrored him. The glass felt cold. His eyes felt warm, painful, childlike, real. I stood. He stood too. Mom, he whispered, thank you for not giving up on me. I gave up on your choices, I said softly, never on you. The guard opened the door behind him. Before stepping through, Adrian looked back one last time. I will try to be the man you believed I could be. I nodded. That is all I ever wanted. He disappeared behind the door. The lock clicked. The room fell quiet again. I walked out of the visitation wing with a strange new ache. Not anger, not joy. Something deeper. A mix of grief, love, and fragile hope. A hope that had a new face now. A small, unborn child who might one day need a grandmother who chose truth instead of silence. Outside, the late afternoon sun warmed my shoulders. I twisted my wedding ring. For him, I whispered, for the child, for all of us. Then I headed toward the next fight. There was still a courtroom waiting. 1 year after the arrests, my home felt different. Not bigger, not richer, just lighter. As if the air finally carried space to breathe. Sunlight fell across my kitchen floor in wide golden strips. Outside, my apple tree bloomed again. Its branches held soft white flowers that looked like small lanterns. I carried my morning mug to the porch, the same porch where I once cried in silence. Now it felt like a place for steady beginnings. Healing did not make noise in my house. It showed up in small habits. Morning coffee without dread. Bills paid on time. Nights when I could finally sleep. I opened a small consulting office near the community center last fall. I wanted to help older adults protect their savings from fraud. The room had secondhand chairs and bright blue walls. People came with heavy stories, widows with confusing paperwork, veterans afraid of scams, retirees who trusted the wrong person. I helped them read contracts. I helped them freeze accounts. I helped them stand tall again. It was the life I never planned, but the life I chose. One Tuesday morning, a knock sounded at my door. When I opened it, a woman stood in a crisp suit. She smiled warmly. Ulma Rivers. She said, "I am Dana Quinn from Halston and Price Consulting." I blinked. Halston and Price was one of the largest firms in the city. I had not spoken to anyone from the corporate world in months. Dana continued, "I used to work with you years ago. You may not remember me." I looked closer. Her eyes brought the memory back. A young intern with shaky hands and a stubborn hope. "I remember now," I said. "You were the one who always asked for extra files." She laughed. "That is me. I am still asking for files. But that is not why I am here." She stepped closer. "Your name is legend in our field," she said. "We still tell stories about your audits, your accuracy, your courage." I felt heat rise to my face. At my age, true praise lands deeper. She continued, "After what happened last year, many of us watched closely. You saved the pension accounts of dozens of employees. You exposed a dangerous network. You protected your company even while your family fell apart." She paused. "Ulma, you did not lose honor. You defined it." Her words loosened a knot that had lived inside my chest for months. "Thank you," I whispered. She handed me a small envelope. "In case you ever want to consult for us, even part-time. Our door is open." I kept the envelope on my desk, not for the offer, but for the reminder that my name still stood clean. The universe has a way of balancing loss with unexpected grace. Spring arrived early that year. Birds nested near my window. The house felt more alive, more mine. Then one evening, I got a call from Maribel. Her voice shook with nerves. "Ulma," she said, "the baby is here. A girl." I sat down slowly. A granddaughter. A new life born from a broken story. "Is she healthy?" I asked. "Yes," Maribel answered. "She is perfect. And I wanted you to know something." Her voice softened. "I named her with your husband's middle name, to honor him, to honor what he meant to you." I covered my mouth with my hand. Tears rose before I could stop them. "Thank you," I whispered. "You did not have to do that." "I wanted to," she said. "He was the kind of man I hope my daughter learns about." 2 days later, I visited the hospital. Maribel looked exhausted but peaceful. She held a small bundle wrapped in a soft yellow blanket. "She looks like Adrian," I said gently. Maribel nodded. "But she has your calm eyes." I reached out carefully. "May I hold her, please?" Maribel said. The baby settled into my arms with surprising ease. Warm, light, soft breaths against my wrist. I looked at her tiny fingers, her quiet face, and something within me healed in a place I thought would stay broken forever. "You will grow in love," I promised her. "You will not carry fear. You will not carry shame. You will learn strength, not silence." Maribel wiped her eyes. "I want to raise her right," she said. "I want her to know better than we did." I nodded. "That is how change begins. Weeks turned into months. I visited often, sometimes once a week, sometimes twice. The little girl started smiling at me whenever I walked in. One afternoon, as I sat beside her, she babbled a soft sound. Maribel laughed. She's trying to say something. The baby touched my glasses. Her mouth formed a shape that sounded like a tiny attempt at words. Then she said it, clear enough for both of us to hear. Grandma. My heart shook, just like the day I first heard Adrian call me Mom. But this time the sound carried hope. Not long after she tried again, only this time she added a second word. Smart Grandma. Maribel gasped. I froze. The world felt still for a moment. The echo struck deep. My son once called me stupid. My granddaughter called me smart. Life has a way of answering cruelty with truth. I kissed the baby's forehead. You are my little beginning, I said. Now when I sit on my porch at sunset, I feel my husband beside me. Not in body, but in memory. In the apple blossoms. In the laughter of a new child. In the life I rebuilt with my own hands. I still visit Adrian, not out of duty, but out of honesty. He is paying for his choices. He is learning. He is trying. Forgiveness did not arrive in one big moment. It came in small, uneven steps. Some visits I left angry, some visits I left quietly hopeful. As for me, I found peace again, a peace built from truth boundaries and work. I look at my granddaughter and say, you will grow knowing that mistakes do not define a life. Choices do, and I tell myself the same. My son betrayed me, but I will not betray myself. Thank you for staying with me until the end of my story. If something in my journey touched your heart, I hope you carry that strength with you tonight. Life tests us in ways we never expect, but dignity, truth, and quiet courage always lead us home. If you have ever felt overlooked or underestimated, please know this. Your worth has never depended on who failed to see it. I would love to hear from you. Tell me the city you are watching from. Your voice matters here. Your presence helps these stories reach others who need comfort and courage. Check the pinned comment below. I left a message for you there and a place to share your thoughts. The hashtags in the description will help you find more stories like this one. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps support future stories about justice, healing, and quiet strength. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving this story a home.